The leather sap and the blackjack are quite the controversial tools, and their history goes way back. But what's the difference between the two? We're going to be looking at that in this video. Stick around. There's a little backstory that brings about this video. A few weeks back, I did a video titled, "Let's Talk About the Leather Sap. They Hit Hard." And that video got a lot of views and a lot of responses, and it was quite the interesting comment section. One of the biggest objections I got in that video was a great number of people coming in the comments and saying, "That's not a sap, it's a blackjack." And my response to all of them was, "No, it's not." Truth be told, I don't hold that against them, and if you were one of those that commented that, I don't hold it against you, because they're very much the same. The concept is the same, but the design is very different. This is a leather sap, also known as a slapjack, which I like the name of that because this is very slappy. It's like a beaver's tail. This handle, it's covered in leather, and on the inside is lead. And of course, a flex material that allows it to bend. But it's not a blackjack. This is a blackjack. This is weightier. This is heavier than this sap. Now, I've got a longer sap that's very weighty that I cracked a coconut with, but this is heavier. This blackjack has got a heavier end on it. I don't want to get hit with either of these, but if you made me choose, I'd beg you to go with the sap in this particular situation, because this is so much heavier. Even the longer sap I have, this is still a heavier, harder shot. Now, I'm not going to state this as a fact, but I want you to go out and do the research, because I think California is going to be changing its laws, if they haven't already, on the leather sap. Now, the blackjack here has, in my opinion, a lot more complicated design. It still has that spring material in there, but this has got to be lead on the end. It's just very heavy. It's got the handle guard. This thing has been used all through time. It just goes way back, and you see these used a lot in movies. One of my favorite movies is Lucky Number 11, and there's a scene in the movie where one of the main hitmen used this against one of the mob bosses that he's after. Pulls it right out of his back pocket, cracks him over the head. Now let's talk about some of the different dynamics. Let's take the sap, for example. The sap, you can strike from this wide side, or you can strike from this narrow side. You can come across and strike here, or you can strike here. This is just a small club. It's the same strike no matter which way you go. There's no changing of the ends on this one, where it is with the sap. The sap does give you a lot of versatility. With this particular sap, you're definitely going to hurt your attacker. He's not going to be happy. He's going to have to rethink his whole life. But you're a lot less likely to kill your attacker with something like this. This is 14 ounces of concentrated lead coming down. And this right here will probably send somebody to the morgue with a hard enough swing to the head. You can see the concentrated force this thing has. Now, the leather sap is nothing to underestimate. Like I said, you can strike this way, or you can strike with the narrow side of it, which, you know, both of these things are extremely formidable, but they are different. And I gotta say this as well. These are not just for attacking the head. That all comes down to context and the severity of the situation. A lot of times people will use things like the sap and the blackjack to attack limbs, whether it's arms, hands, legs, etc. And collarbones, ouch. Now with the sap, again, you would turn it this way to attack a collarbone. But with the blackjack, you got one surface, and it's heavy enough to do whatever it needs to do. Like we've talked about in other brass knuckle videos, full power is not always required. Sometimes the slightest bit of power can make a difference with something like this. Some of you may want to know where I got these from. This sap was made by someone I met on TikTok. His channel is called Web Welder. When I initially reviewed these, I dropped his contact information in that video. I'll do the same here. He can do engraving. Let me see. There you go. You see the 411 there? He can do engraving. And also this blackjack I bought from budk.com. I think it's budk.com. I'll drop a link in the description section as well for you to go out and pick up one of these if you want one. If you're able to carry it legally, if you want to get a BlackJack, you just have to check your state laws. Let's talk about that. I know this comment section is going to be full of quote unquote use that and you'll go to prison type comments. Again, I think that all comes down to context. Some are going to say these things are illegal, and that's not true. They're not illegal everywhere. So you have to go back and check your state laws. Some of you don't care about state laws at all. I respect your opinion as well. I'm not a lawyer, but the simple truth is they're not illegal everywhere. You just have to check. It all comes down to this. If you ever have to defend yourself, especially with something like this, or a knife, a gun, or anything that is formidable, you gotta have a good case. Otherwise, you're looking for trouble anyway. It seems like a lot of people are more concerned with what's legal and what's not legal than they are protecting their own head and protecting their loved ones. We all know there's legalities attached to just about everything, but what I want to know is, who out here is prepared to defend yourself? Doesn't matter to me what you use. Are you prepared to defend yourself and your precious family? Some people are so worried about the legalities of things that they don't even train. They don't even learn how to use anything. I'd rather know how to use something. I'd rather know about certain types of weaponry and walk around and use wisdom with regards to these things instead of just throwing out a blanket statement. That's illegal, ignore it, because that's ignorant, because certain things that I talk about on this channel may be illegal somewhere, but they might not be illegal somewhere else. I'm just that type of guy who, if I look at something and it looks like a legit defensive tool, I want to know something about that. But here's your answer, my friend. BlackJack, leather sap, AKA slapjack. There's a difference between the two. Very similar concept, but still a different tool at the end of the day. What stories do you have about blackjacks and leather saps? What experience do you have? Drop those in the comments for me. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.